and gentlemen, I want to congratulate you because tonight we have started a revolution.
Here we go. Beautiful.
What you think, what you feel, what you know, to be real. What you think,
I have been to the mountainside 100 days ago. I was in surgery at Columbia University, not for the first time, not for the 5th time, not for the 10th time, not for the 15th or 20th or 25th time. It was my 39th eye surgery, and I was almost blind. I made a determination in that moment that I would not only see, but that I would use this experience to create as much value as possible, to create change in this community, finally working alongside Max and all of you guys who, by the way, you look fabulous. I'm here to tell you on a serious note, if we do not pay attention, because I was the queen, I had the tiara, and it wasn't of diva-ness, it was of denial. I was the queen, and you may hear this a lot in your community, of it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. I'm telling you, I'm standing here, it will happen to you. I'm also standing here to tell you, it does not have to happen to you or your community. That is our choice.
In New York, 1 out of 12 individuals have diabetes, and if you move a little further uptown, it's 1 out of 8, and if you go a little bit more further uptown, it's 1 out of 5. And that's a representation just in terms of the population. Hispanics and blacks have a higher incidence of diabetes, but it's also a disease that's growing, so we expect to see it triple within the next 20 years. We used to think kids were protected, and now we're finding kids as young as 6 or 7 developing a diabetes that we used to belong to just overweight adults.
We are really up against a growing epidemic of type 2 diabetes in kids, and that's something that needs a lot more awareness in our community. There are so many people that think that type 2 diabetes is something that only affects adults, and that's something that we really need to work on, getting the word out and getting education in our school systems, in our community groups, to let them know what they can do to help prevent type 2 diabetes, because that's the thing that they can prevent. Type 1, there's nothing that we can do to prevent type 1 diabetes from happening. We can just keep looking for a cure. Type 2, we can prevent it if we work together and we work hard and get the word out that it's a problem that lots of kids are dealing with now. Lots.
Well, we have a lot of children in our program, after school program, when I did weigh-ins for them, and these are 7th and 8th graders, 180 to 210, 220 pounds. That's a lot of weight for young kids, and they have to realize that, they can become diabetic.
When we talk about children, we've got to realize that kids don't want to be different. For a child not to be spontaneous and for a child not to be able to do everything that everybody else does creates a level of embarrassment. It's very difficult for them to develop a concept that they're worthy of their friends. And part of the challenges that we have is to teach them that they're special, to give them the opportunity to practice dealing with situations where they have to be strong enough to say, wait, I have to do something first. I have to take care of me first. We've got to teach them to reframe how they think. And that takes a lot of work. That is probably more intense than teaching somebody that 1 unit of insulin is going to cover a half a piece of bread. But teaching them how to manage living with diabetes and still feeling good about themselves is the hard part. The problem with diabetes is that it's hard. It's hard to manage the food, it's hard to manage the activity, it's hard to manage the medications and still live a normal life. And because it's hard and because not everybody gets help doing that, it often means that it's not managed well. And it's not diabetes that makes people sick, but it's the too much. Too much blood sugar, too much cholesterol, too much blood pressure, and that's what's so hard about it. The hardest part is really hooking into a network of people that can help you.
I feel like Sweet Enough, I mean, the message is about moving, it's about using your body, taking care of your body, and that's not just a message that kids with type 1 need to hear, it's a message that everybody needs to hear. It's a message that all kids need to hear, especially in the face of that now. I think the statistic is every child born in our country in the year 2000 and thereafter, 1/3 of them will get diabetes in their lifetime. And that's, to me, that's staggering.
So we're getting more people with diabetes, less care, and less insurance reimbursement. So it's a cycle that unless we get other groups to help us, unless the insurance company changes the world, unless we get more peer support, things that you're doing, we're going to drown. We're not going to survive the disease.
1/3 of all of our kids in this country are going to have to deal with diabetes in their life. I think that's something that needs a lot of lip service, and not just lip service, a lot of action behind it. And I think that's what Amy's doing. She's not just talking about it, she's getting out there and doing something.
Right, together.
Well, that diabetes is becoming such a big problem in our community, and so part of the Sweet Enough and Diabetic mission is to really support the families and let's help people bring a fresh perspective.
1, 2, 3, 4.
To have dreams, you have to really work hard for them, and you have to be focused. My dream, obviously, is to be a professional dancer, and I had the opportunity to manifest that. I was living in Los Angeles, California, and my roommates were on tour with Janet Jackson. I had opportunities to work with Madonna and Paula Abdul back in the late 80s, and it was so cool. And I was in LA, we were having such a good time, and then it was like, oh, I have this little secret, this thing, this diabetes, and you guys ever feel ashamed, or sometimes you don't want to tell your friends? Or I was like that. I was I don't want you to know about it. I'm just going to be fine. I'm not going to take care of it. And as a result, if I had some really serious problems. The funny thing about that, rather than think of it as a fearful thing, is it really became a catalyst of prevention to say, you know what, this experience happened to me, and none of you guys ever have to go through that. And it's so exciting. And now what we're doing basically with Sweet Enough movement is really taking that message out to say, let's have a good time, let's feel fabulous, let's really take care of ourselves and tell all of our friends and really embrace this as just one piece of all of our collective beings. The parents have to be able to somehow effectively deal with their own concerns and find a way to support their kids to live as well as possible.
Because we had a crash course a horrible crash course on those issues, and then I had a hard time with it, and I still do.
The one friend that did not shun her away, that wasn't scared, was her best friend. But everybody else is like, are you okay? It's not catchy, and you had to reinforce them, and I don't blame them. You're talking about 7th and 8th grade, 7 and 8 year olds who don't know about the disease. To them, this is something, well, somebody goes, well, that's my grandma, and you've seen her,
I get that a lot.
and you're like, well, and they were afraid.
I wanted to work with Amy because obviously I recognize the fact that people, such as myself, was turned off the minute you handed me a diagram of a pancreas or a brochure that just, that just had black and white, it had nothing. And so I went out of my way to make a colorful website and really, be a Cosmo magazine, talk about the issues that other people don't want to talk about. I mean, my goal with Divabetic is to kind of put the person before the disease and allow that person to get distracted so that they could come back and deal with their blood sugar. Put them in a room with other women and give them, we do an event called Make Over Your Diabetes, and we do another event called Hat Boxing, and the whole concept of all of that is just to really allow someone to come in and maybe get turned on by the hats we're selling, or the jewelry, or the pearl and pumps kind of thing, or the lipstick and laughter presentation, and then begin to engage with people about how to take care of their diabetes, because what we're effectively trying to do is take the scare tactic out of this disease. Women were blown away by what we were trying to do. I think people, type 2 specifically, who are struggling with weight or portion control or a lack of exercise or just having that taste for fast foods, really need to talk to other people about it to find out how they're doing it.
I try to walk a little bit more. Maybe not one big walk, but 1 or 2 more days a week. And I made a promise to myself to take my blood sugar on a more regular basis, which I had been doing and I stopped, and I did. And I see when I do the right thing that it does go down. So I see that I did it once and I can do it again.
Sunday I went dancing.
Okay, Rose, here we go.
No, wait,
He loves
You
the
are
boa.
so, yeah, the diva.
the exercise I did, I went dancing. I hate that music, but I got up there because it's exercise. And then my
You were out of the
my
club?
blood
Where
sugar.
were you?
The club, yeah.
Okay. Climbing up the hill, Allison.
We know. I actually did the hill. I know this sounds really.
You
cool.
did it?
Yeah. You know what?
You did the hill. 3 women in our class actually said they knew about support groups through the hospital, but they didn't want to go. And so it was like really, again, a really interesting thing that they ended up coming to the YMCA, responding to the Be a Diva, because it's discipline, informed, visible, and active. And it was like, I thought about it later. Again, I don't think it's like, oh, if we could just educate people. I think we have to begin changing the message a little bit.
We don't want it to be a task. We don't want it to be something you have to do. It should make you smile. So we went through this process of mining to talk about all the stuff that's going on, defining, getting more specific, and then lastly shining, and just making it fun.
And dealing with the kids, because the Sweet Enuff is dealing as much with the youth, it's the same thing. What teenager is going to come to a hospital? Let's get them out. Let's give them opportunities to be on MTV. Let's give them opportunities to strut their stuff. Let's get the kids engaged in something besides talking about what they can and cannot eat. Let's get them moving. Let's get them dancing. Let's get them on the stage at the Apollo Theater. Let's get them engaged in the exact same kind of way. And there's so much, I know for me, I want people to understand that, this is tough. There's no break. Ever. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So how to deal with that and create this environment where you are distracted.
So while they're having fun, they're also making sure that the message of staying healthy, eating right, keeping healthy will be a message that will go out to their peers. And of course, working with Amy and the professional group, they are role models for our young people.
I danced in front of a lot of people before. I was shy, didn't like to dance. Now it's no problem to dance in front of a crowd.
Every time we perform, I think of my mom, because my mom, she does the diabetes. When I go out to different functions, I'm always talking to people and telling them how, even though you don't want to exercise, you can always dance, because dancing is another way of exercising.
You don't have too many people like an Amy, like an Amy Jordan, I'm telling you. So she has really inspired all of us, especially the children. To see her drive, how she wanted to help other people to get the word out. That was really, 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 really something.
I've learned, I've grown with Amy. We danced at the Javits Center in front of over 12 or 15,000 people, where the focus is on diabetes.
Every third person you want to see on the street is going to have diabetes. I'm standing here today to say this is what will happen to you and to your communities if we don't make some changes. You will go blind, you will lose your kidneys, you will lose your feet. There is the possibility of death. I don't want to harp on that, because the other side of it, and what we're really working to do, is to encourage everybody to make a simple change. I'm not saying let's all get up and go to New York Sports Club and take 6 kickboxing classes a week. I teach them, you can come to mine. But they're hard. A simple change. If you or your family members affected, take a walk after dinner. If you want to have a piece of cake, have the piece of cake. You know what? Cut it in half. One person at a time. These simple disciplines are going to start to make a difference. And if people don't think it's going to happen to them, because I hear that a lot, I thought that too. It happened to me, and it's like, how can we take this experience and now create value from it? How can we instill this revolution of change to stop this before it gets any worse?
Come on. when you're gonna live your life right. Oh, honey dear, we're not the fortunate ones. And girls, they wanna have fun. Oh, girls, just wanna have fun. That's all they really want. The fun. When the working day is done, oh, girls.
The funny thing about that is that my mom bought that bear for me, so that's tells you how involved in diabetic she is. So that's good.
I love that. I love your mom.